Hi students, I welcome you all to the fifth session of the chapter Atoms. Before we continue with this session, let us recall some of the formulae that we have derived in the previous classes. The first one is the expression for radius of the electron in the nth orbit. The second one, it is the formula for orbital speed of the electron in the nth orbit. The third one is the expression for energy of the electron in the nth orbit. And the fourth one is the expression for wavelength of the emitted photon when an electron transits from excited state to the ground state. Here lambda is the wavelength of the emitted photon. Reciprocal of wavelength, that is 1 by lambda, it is called wave number nu bar. Here m is mass of the electron, E is charge on the electron, epsilon naught is nothing but permittivity of free space, c is speed of light, h is nothing but Planck's constant. So this term is a constant. This term we call as Rydberg constant for hydrogen atom, represented as RH. In today's session, mostly we are going to use this formula, that is the fourth formula. By this time, we know that when an electron transits from excited state to the ground state, it emits a photon of energy h nu, which is equal to the energy difference between the ground state and the excited state. As we can see in the picture, the electron is already in the excited state. Since excited state is not stable, the electron falls back into the ground state. When it falls back into the ground state, it is going to emit a photon of energy E is equal to h nu, where nu is frequency of the emitted photon. When hydrogen gas is exposed to radiation or photons of all possible wavelengths, different atoms of hydrogen go to different excited states. When these atoms fall to the ground state, they emit radiation of definite frequency. Let us understand what does it mean. To understand, I am going to consider 4 hydrogen atoms. These are the 4 hydrogen atoms considered. Think that they are all exposed to radiation of all possible radiation. In the first hydrogen atom, the electron is in ground state. That means it has not absorbed any photon. See the second one, this is the second one, second hydrogen atom. Here the electron is in first excited state. That means this electron has absorbed energy E1 is equal to h nu 1, where nu 1 is the frequency of absorbed radiation. See the third one. The third atom, in the third atom, the electron is in second excited state. What does it mean? This electron has absorbed a photon of frequency nu 2. Energy E2 is equal to h nu 2, where nu 2 is the frequency of the photon that is absorbed. The energy absorbed is equal to energy difference between the ground state and the second excited state. See the fourth hydrogen atom. It is in third excited state. This has absorbed energy equal to E3 is equal to h nu 3, which is the energy difference between the ground state and the third excited state. Since the excited states are not stable, all the excited electrons fall into the ground state by emitting photon of different frequencies. All possible electronic transitions from higher to lower energy levels take place. This means that in the second atom, the electron transits from first excited state to the ground state by liberating the same photon of frequency nu 1 and wavelength, the corresponding wavelength lambda 1. The third hydrogen atom, here transition takes place from second excited state to the ground state by it emitting a photon of frequency nu 2 and the corresponding wavelength lambda 2. Here In the fourth hydrogen atom, the electron transits from third excited state to the ground state by emitting a photon of frequency nu3, and the corresponding wavelength of the photon is lambda 3. The arrangement of the emitted photons in the order of increasing wavelength is called emission spectrum of the element. Every element has its own characteristic line spectrum. The line spectrum of hydrogen is the simplest of all the spectra. Each line has a specific wavelength. It contains a number of groups of lines. They can be classified into various series. As you can see in the picture, this is the first series. Here, the electron transition takes place from n is equal to or greater than 2 to n is equal to 1. As you can see here the first one is n is equal to 1. Transition takes place from n is equal to 2 to n is equal to 1, n is equal to 3 to n is equal to 1, n is equal to 4 to n is equal to 1, and so on. This series we call as Lyman series. So this Lyman series, it belongs to ultraviolet region of the electromagnetic spectrum. The second series we call as Balmer series. Here electronic transition takes place from n equal to or greater than 3 to n is. Whatever photons are emitted, they belong to Balmer series. Balmer series belongs to visible region of the electromagnetic spectrum. So this is nothing but Balmer series. Similarly, the third series is nothing but Paschen series. Here electronic transition takes place from n greater than or equal to 4 to n is equal to 3. Whatever series of photons we are going to get, it is called Paschen series. Paschen series belongs to near infrared region of the electromagnetic spectrum. The next series we call as bracket series. In bracket series, electronic transition takes place from n greater than or equal to 5 to n is equal to 4. Bracket series belongs to infrared region of the electromagnetic spectrum. And the next series we call as Pfund series. Here electronic transition takes place from n greater than or equal to 6 to n is equal to 5. Whatever series of photons appear, they are called Pfund series. Pfund series belongs to far infrared region of the electromagnetic spectrum. Generally, hydrogen spectrum is represented using energy level diagram. The energy level diagram is given below. As we know, this is the formula for wavelength of the emitted photon. That is also equal to nu bar. Nu bar is nothing but reciprocal of lambda, that is reciprocal of wavelength is called wave number. As you can see here, this is nothing but energy level diagram showing the different series in hydrogen spectrum. As you can clearly see here, this is n is equal to 1, this is nothing but ground state. In Lyman series, electronic transition takes place from n greater than or equal to 2 to n is equal to 1. So when electron transition takes place from n is equal to 2 to n is equal to 1, a photon is emitted. This photon will be having definite wavelength and definite frequency. Similarly, when electronic transition takes place from n is equal to 3 to n is equal to 1, you will get another photon of definite frequency and wavelength. Similarly, electronic transition may take place from n is equal to 4 or n is equal to 5 to n is equal to 1 and so on. So, to get Lyman series, we have to substitute n1 is equal to 1, n2 is equal to or greater than 2. This is the formula for getting Lyman series. Here say N1 is equal to 1 and N2 is equal to N. N can take any value, that is N is greater than or equal to 2. As we can see here, N is equal to 2, 3, 4 because N1 is equal to 1, N2 may take any value from 2 onwards. This is the Balmer series. Here we are going to get Balmer series when electron transition takes place from N equal to or greater than 3 to N is equal to 2. So for Balmer series, the formula is nu bar is equal to R into 1 by 2 square minus 1 by N square. Here N1 is equal to 2, N2 is equal to N. N can have values 3, 4, 5, etc. Similarly, this is the Paschen series. Paschen series we are going to get when electronic transition takes place from N greater than or equal to 4 to N is equal to 3. And this is the formula for Paschen series. Nu bar is equal to R into 1 by 3 square minus 1 by N square. Similarly, bracket series, this is the general formula. Here for bracket series, N1 is equal to 4, N2 is equal to 5, 6, 7, so on. And the last one is the Pfund series. For Pfund series, N1 is equal to 5, N2 can take values 6, 7, 8, etc. I request the students to pause the video and learn energy level diagram showing the different series in hydrogen spectrum. We need to learn one more point here. Lyman series, it belongs to ultraviolet region. Balmer series, they belong to visible region of electromagnetic spectrum. Paschen series, they belong to infrared, that is near infrared region of the electromagnetic spectrum. Bracket series, they belong to infrared region, and Pfund series, they belong to far infrared region of the electromagnetic spectrum. We need to remember these points. Now, out of these series, we are now interested in Balmer series because they belong to visible region of the electromagnetic spectrum. The emission spectrum of hydrogen in the Balmer series consists of 4 prominent wavelengths. The first line in the Balmer series is due to the electronic transition from N is equal to 3 to N is equal to 2. As we can see here, when the electronic transition takes place from N is equal to 3 to N is equal to 2, we get the first line of the Balmer series. This line is called H alpha line. This is the line with the longest wavelength. The second line is due to the electronic transition that is taking place from N is equal to 4 to N is equal to 2. And this line is called H beta line. The third line is due to the electronic transition that is taking place from N is equal to 5 to N is equal to 2, and this line is called H gamma line. And the fourth line is due to the electronic transition that is taking place from N is equal to 6 to N is equal to 2, and this line is called H delta line. All the 4 prominent lines are seen in the visible region of the electromagnetic spectrum. Now the wavelengths are also shown here. The wavelength of H alpha line is 656.3 nanometer. The wavelength of H beta line is 486.1 nanometer. The wavelength of H gamma line is 434.1 nanometer, and the wavelength of H delta line is 410.2 nanometer. The color of H alpha line is red. The color of H beta line is blue green, as you can see the color here. The color of H gamma line is blue, and the color of H delta line is violet. Now I am going to show you the actual photograph of hydrogen emission spectrum. As you can see here, this is hydrogen emission spectrum. These are the four prominent colors. This is the first color. This is of longest wavelength. We can match here. The color of the line is red. You can match the colors here. This is H beta. You can match the colors. This is nothing but blue green. And this is H delta. The color is blue. And this is H delta. The color is violet. So this is the actual photograph of hydrogen emission spectrum. Now we can note that the first line with the longest wavelength 656.3 nanometer in Balmer series is called H alpha line. The color is red. The second line, the line with the wavelength 486.1 nanometer in Balmer series is called H beta. That the color is blue green. The third line, the line with the wavelength 434.1 nanometer in Balmer series is called H gamma. Color is blue. The fourth line with wavelength 410.2 nanometer in Balmer series is called H delta. The color is violet. And one more thing we have to know, the shortest wavelength in a series is called its series limit. For this, the transition has to take place from n is equal to infinity to that particular series. For example, for Lyman series, if you want to get series limit, transition has to take place from n is equal to infinity to n is equal to 1. That is for Lyman series. If you want to get series limit of Balmer series, the transition has to take place from n is equal to infinity to n is equal to 2 and so on. In this slide, we can see the spectrum of hydrogen and helium. We can compare emission and absorption spectrum of hydrogen and helium. Every element has its own characteristic line spectrum. Using emission spectrum, the scientists can identify pure substances or compounds and the elements in them. As we can see here, the emission spectrum of hydrogen is different from the emission spectrum of helium. That is why we say that every element has its own characteristic line spectrum. Now let us recall Bohr's second postulate of atomic model. The second postulate of Bohr states that an electron revolves around the nucleus only in those orbits for which the angular momentum is some integral multiple of h by 2 pi, where h is Planck's constant. So this is the postulate, one of the postulates made by Bohr. A scientist called de Broglie has given the explanation for Bohr's second postulate. He actually arrives at this equation, that is mvr is equal to nh by 2 pi, and concludes that the Bohr's second postulate is correct. We will see how exactly it is done. By this time, we know that light or radiation has dual nature. If radiation has dual nature, then the particles such as electrons and protons should also exhibit wave-like character when they are in motion. In 1924, de Broglie put forward the hypothesis that moving particles of matter should display wave-like properties. The wavelength lambda associated with a particle of momentum p is given by lambda is equal to h by p, which is nothing but h by mv. This is nothing but de Broglie hypothesis. The meaning of de Broglie hypothesis is very simple. Since a light or any other electromagnetic wave can also exhibit the properties of a particle, a moving particle should also exhibit the properties of a wave, and these two natures are interchangeable if certain physical conditions exist to allow that change. Later on, two scientists called Davison and Germer experimentally verified the wave nature of electrons in an experiment called Davison-Germer experiment. Accordingly, de Broglie argued that the electron in its circular orbit must be seen as a particle wave. That is, according to de Broglie, the motion of an electron around the nucleus is similar to the one shown in the picture. That is, the electron is a particle wave. As you can see in the picture, the entire circumference of the circular path consists of four waves. For the electron to revolve in a stationary orbit or non-radiating orbit, the circumference of the orbit must be equal to the integral multiple of wavelength of the electron. The meaning is, the circumference of the circular path must be equal to 1 lambda or 2 lambda or 3 lambda and so on. We can also understand like this. For an electron to follow the same path continuously, the circumference of the circle must contain integral multiples of wavelength of the electron. This is the point that is used by de Broglie to explain Bohr's second postulate. As we know, for the electron to revolve in a stationary orbit or non-radiating orbit, the circumference of the orbit must be equal to the integral multiple of the wavelength of the electron. That is, circumference of the nth orbit must be equal to n lambda. As we know, circumference of the circle is given by 2 pi r, that is 2 pi rn is equal to n lambda, where rn is nothing but radius of the nth orbit. Considering that the electron is revolving in the nth orbit, thus that must be equal to n lambda. But according to de Broglie, already we know this equation. Wavelength of the matter wave is lambda is equal to h by m into Vn. So if we substitute this equation here in the first equation, that is in place of lambda, if we substitute h by m into Vn, we are going to end up with this equation 2 pi Rn is equal to nh by m into V. Now if you cross multiply, you will get mv r, that is m into Vn into Rn is equal to nh by 2 pi, that is nothing but n h by 2 pi. This is nothing but L, angular momentum of the revolving electron. As we know, L is equal to m into V into R. So L is equal to nh by 2 pi. This is nothing but Bohr's second postulate, that is, angular momentum of electron revolving in the nth orbit must be an integral multiple of h by 2 pi. Bohr's model involving classical trajectory picture, that is a planet-like electron orbiting the nucleus, correctly predicts the gross features of the hydrogenic atoms. In particular, the frequencies of the radiation emitted are selectively absorbed. This model, however, has many limitations. Bohr's atomic model could not explain the spectra of atoms consisting of more than one electron. The Bohr's model is applicable to only hydrogenic atoms. It cannot be extended even for the atoms such as helium. The analysis of atoms with more than one electron was attempted on the lines of the Bohr's model but did not meet any success. Difficulty lies in the fact that each electron interacts not only with the positively charged nucleus but also with all other electrons. The second limitation is, as the electron revolves at a high speed, relativist correction has to be applied to its mass. The meaning is, mass of a particle depends on its speed, but As we have seen in a Bose model of an atom, mass of the electron is taken as constant. So this point has not explained by Bose model of an atom. The third limitation of Bose atomic model is this one. The fine structure of the spectral lines could not be explained by Bose theory. When the familiar red spectral line of the hydrogen spectrum is examined at very high resolution, it is found to be a closely spaced doublet. This splitting is called fine structure and was one of the first experimental evidences for electron spin. This could not be explained by Bose model. Now we will see the next limitation. It could not explain the relative intensity of the spectral lines. While the Bose model correctly predicts the frequencies of the light emitted by hydrogenic atoms, the model is unable to explain the relative intensities of the frequencies in the spectrum. In emission spectrum of hydrogen, some of the visible frequencies have weak intensity, others strong. Experimental observations depict that some transitions are more favored than others. Bose model is unable to account for the intensity variation. Bose model could not explain Zeeman effect. The meaning is, when a magnetic field is applied, spectral lines are going to split. So splitting of spectral lines under the influence of magnetic field could not be explained by Bose atomic model. The next one is, it could not explain Stark effect, that is splitting of spectral lines under the influence of electric field. Even if you apply electric field, the spectral series they split. This could not be explained by Bose atomic model. So these are all the limitations of Bohr model of an atom. Bohr's model presents an elegant picture of an atom and cannot be generalized to complex atoms. For complex atoms, we have to use a new and radical theory based on quantum mechanics, which provides a more complete picture of the atomic structure. Dear students, now we have reached the end of the theory part of the chapter atoms. Before we conclude, we will see the question bank to prepare for the exams. Here I have listed all possible questions. For 1 mark questions, the answers are given. You need to answer for 2, 3 and 5 mark questions. Take it as assignment and try to answer them. These are all 1 mark questions with answers. I request the students to pause the video and go through the questions. As you can see, these are all 1 mark questions with answers. Here is the question that is to be answered. Draw the graph of number of alpha particles scattered versus scattering angle in alpha particle scattering experiment. We already seen
alpha particle scattering experiment. In that experiment, we have learned that most of the alpha particles went through the gold foil undeviated. If we plot a graph by taking scattering angle theta along x-axis and number of scattered particles along y-axis, we are going to get the graph like this. We need to learn this graph. This may be asked for 1 or 2 marks. Now we'll move on to 2-mark questions. Take all these questions as assignment questions and try to answer them. These are all 2-mark questions. Answers are not given. Two-mark questions. All these are 2-mark questions. Now these are all 3-mark questions. And there are 5-mark questions also. This is the end of this session. I request the students to go through the video number of times and understand better. In the next session, we'll try to answer some of the numerical questions. Thank you for watching.